I'm back again. And so, if you look into my eyes, well, you can see that I have not yet slept throughout the night. And so, if you watched my video yesterday, that about thoughts on being in a relationship, that kind of got me back on thinking, back on feet. That made me realize that I have to reflect again because I am losing track of who I am or who I used to be. And so it's currently 7:18 a.m. in the morning. Um, I just finished my coffee right here, and I stayed up whole night. And I wasn't really productive throughout the night. You know, I kind of just went through my mess, organized some stuff, cleaned up some mess, and there and that, um, and scrolled for around 4 hours. I know. Staying up all night, not being productive, and saying I've been reflecting is kind of counterproductive. Well, you know, it's really ironic that I said that, but I don't really feel bad that I do scroll for hours because this is what got me thinking. Actually, I don't need to be super performative, and I get it. A lot of people want to be competitive, and a lot of people want to be, ahead of everyone. And it's good to have that spirit. Don't get me wrong. It's good to have that spirit of being competitive, being ahead on, and being a performative person. But sometimes we just have to take things slow. Now, in my case, it's not really applicable, is it? Um, well, I've been handling a lot of stuff lately, like the OJT, the intern on the job training. If you're not familiar with that term, we use that here in Philippines. What else? Being new in a relationship is really, really taking a lot of things away from me. Like the attention is mostly focused on the relationship. Like I noticed how um when I was just courting her, and now that we're officially together, um, a lot of attention goes to her. It's like I would say 80% of my attention goes to her, 15% goes to other, and 5% to me. And so this kind of video that I'm doing right now is making me feel mm, reflective of the time management. Right? I don't really know how to handle, excuse me, relationships right now. I wouldn't say that I'm good at it because it's my first time. And if you watched my past videos, it's evident that I have been single my whole life. And this is my first time being in a relationship. Just wait. But of course, there's always a first time for everything. And so you're not going to be great at the start. But the thing is, I am willing to wing it. And so back to what I was saying. I'm sorry. I don't really need to be super performative always because I have been like that my whole, I don't know, since the start of my senior um, college, or I guess maybe, I'm sorry, I was playing with my cards and it just fell out of my hand. Yeah, so I'm saying, um, yeah, I've been super performative, doing a lot of stuff, working out, reading a lot of books, learning a lot of hobbies, and just shifting from one thing to another. But I always end up with nothing. Just I just know things, but I'm not really good at it. And so it's great to experience all these things. It is what gives me life. And I think right now the number one. I don't know if you can hear the dogs outside. They're very noisy. Yeah, those dogs are noisy. But I hope that doesn't um, bother the audio or something. But like I was saying, these hobbies that I used to do, you know, d- makes up like 90% of my life. And if you may ask, why did you stop doing these hobbies? Well, personally, I think one is financial freedom, and you can say, hey, there's a lot of ways to be able to do a lot of things without expensive, you know, uh, budget, or like you don't need to be financially stable in order to do those hobbies. But as much as possible, I want to support the hobbies that I'm doing or learning, and I cannot support that with such a tight budget. I'll give you an example. I really want to go rock climbing, or I really want to go uh, hiking, but I really can't support those kinds of hobbies. I'm a big nature fan. You could take nature walks or walk breaks, but you know, parks are not usually common here in where, or at least where I reside. I'd have to travel 30 to 1 hour just to get a beautiful scenery that I can walk. And walking is not really generally safe here in Philippines. It's the design is not very human at all. Um, and you can say, "Hey, you're a guy, nothing to be afraid of." Yeah, there's nothing really to be afraid of, unless the universe gives you something to be afraid of. It's not that I am afraid. It's just that there's not really nothing much to enjoy around here. But you can say, "Hey, it's all about your perspective." Well, there's no argument in that. You're probably right. I'm just kind of picky when it comes to giving myself that luxury, you know, because as a guy, I don't, you know, have the chance to. Well, I'm not saying this because I'm a guy. I'm saying this on my current state. I don't really have the capacity to give myself luxurious items. Like I can't even afford a gym membership. See, um, I can't afford eating outside, even in simple meals where it's like $2. That's around 120 pesos here in Philippines. I think it's 60 pesos for each buck. So yeah, it's around 120. That's $2. I couldn't even afford that. Well, I could buy it, but that's gonna take a lot out of on my budget. And the only luxury things that I can afford is at least coffee. There's like coffee for less than $2, and you can say, hey, maybe save up that amount which you're buying coffee, so you can buy better luxury items. Well, yeah, I could do that, but coffee is life. I love coffee, and I think it's one of the most luxurious things, and I appreciate the universe for giving me coffee. And so there's a lot of counter arguments to the things which I'm saying, but not all of these things have to be invalidated. I don't have to invalidate myself repeatedly and say, oh, you could always do this, you could always do that. Yes, I could, but is it really worth it? Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense that sometimes there are things that I want, okay, and I can't afford them because if I am to take care of myself, give myself the me time that I needed. Why would I be so cheap about it? If I'm taking care of myself, if you're, let's talk about you or whoever's watching this video. Yes, there's a lot of counter arguments of what I'm saying right now, but if you would put yourself in my position, would you be so cheap about yourself? No, you wouldn't be so cheap to yourself. You would give yourself the most luxurious items that you want. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sad. I'm happy that I get to live a simple life. But I'm saying that, a lot of hobbies that I want, which is, you know, mm, hiking, rock climbing, or bouldering. I even want to do pottery. A lot of things. I can't support those financially. And so I'm going to have to stick with what I have or what I used to do. And I suddenly remembered, hey, one of my hobbies is just recording myself in front of the camera. Why? I love reflecting. It's probably a hobby of mine. Can you consider reflecting as a hobby? Anyway, yeah. So how is this connected to I don't have to perform too much? Well, I realized that sometimes you just have to accept changes. Some days or the time will come where you won't be able to do the things that you used to do. Time will come where your body will not look like the way it used to be. I won't. I remember I had this like six pack. It's not really like visible, but it was visible on certain angles and on a good lighting, of course. And I was pretty happy about it. I was like down to below 20% fat, and I was happy about it. And now, if I look at my belly, I can only see my, I don't know, 10 layers of lasagna fat. But the thing is, nothing is ever constant. And, that's the hard truth that I realized. And it's not supposed to be a negative thing, it's supposed to be a positive thing. It's supposed to make me matured to realize that nothing is ever constant and learn how to adapt, learn to change, learn to embrace what comes next. And that's why I don't need to be performative because the time will come that I will be performative. The- God has planned everything for me, and I don't have to force things. Because the more I try to control the things, the more it is not really gonna happen, is it? Because I am a firm believer that just that that's how universe works. The more you try to force the universe to go in your way, the more it doesn't. The more it redirects you the way it wanted it to be. I don't know if you get me. I don't know if I'm using words right, but I think I'm making sense here. Yeah. So I guess that's just about it for today. Originally, I wanted this video to be about not being performative, but it kind of shifted to embracing things, embracing changes as we go along the way. And may I also add, I was planning to end the video earlier, but this thought came up in my head. You know, about a month ago, when she said yes to me, I'm talking about relationship here, my romantic partner. And I've told you in a previous video that she accepts me of who I am, whatever body I have, whatever, however I look, regardless of how I look, rather, she will accept me wholeheartedly. And the thing is, she does accept me, but I don't accept myself. Whenever I look at myself in the mirror and see this, all this fat and this puffy cheeks, I used to have like this kind of cheek. I'm not mewing, okay? I'm just showing you. Okay, I'm probably mewing, but I'm just showing you what I used to look like, or you can just check out my old videos. Um, but yeah, whenever I look at myself, I think to myself, I fucking hate myself. I'm sorry for my words, though. I hate what I look like. And somewhere along the way, I realized that change is the only thing constant in this world. Nothing is ever permanent. Nothing is ever constant. Eventually, you will perish. You will go in the afterlife, if there's an afterlife. I don't really know. Yeah, but change is the only constant thing in this world. Everything will change, and nothing is ever guaranteed. And that is what that is what I learned from being in a relationship. So, if I may add that, which I could, I guess. Um, yeah. And so, lesson for today: embrace change, and whatever it is that comes true, be prepared. Or not, just expect the unexpected. You won't always be prepared. You won't know what happens next. I might die after this video. Quick. I don't know, bro. But yeah, it's 7:30 a.m. and I've been talking for like 60 minutes now. Thank you for listening to me, by the way. I'm gonna end this video. And those who came back and still support me on my little video diary, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate that. Thank you for listening to my nonsense. That's just about it. Thank you. Bye bye. Love you.